Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Pizza! Robots are bastards! Everyone! Robots are bastards! The show about cops rockin'!
We're guards.
Oh, guards.
We're guards.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello!
Welcome to a brand new episode of All Bards Are Bastards. They are indeed. They are indeed.
ABAB, yeah.
ABAB, brought to you by our producer, Matt Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt Smith. Thank you so much. I'm David Bell, one of the hosts.
I'm Tom Ryman, another of the hosts.
All right, and now that we got all that out of the way,
that's out of the way, yeah.
I just want to say R.I.P. Barbara Bosson.
Was she the mayor?
The mayor.
Aw.
She died 2023. She died this year. In February, I saw the news, and I was like, I know you, and I appreciate you.
Yeah,
she was 83, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, she was. Yeah, yeah. You could tell she's middle-aged here, and this is 30 years ago. So
yeah, I mean, she wasn't just in cop rock, but that was
that's how I'll remember her.
Yeah, me too. She was apparently in The Last Starfighter.
Oh, maybe.
Too.
Yeah, probably. Sure.
And
That
a bunch
checks
of
out.
other things.
That checks
NYPD
out.
Blue. Yeah. She was in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So she got to meet Dean Cain. She was in Deep Space Nine. Ooh, I got to seek her out in Deep Space Nine. And she was in Cop Rock, most
Importantly, primarily, Cop Rock.
Yeah. The show that we're talking about.
The show that continues to A, be way better than it has any right being, and B, be way more relevant than it should be 33 years later.
Yeah. So disclaimer, we always have to, first of all, we're far into this show.
Yeah.
This series. So go back and listen to the other podcasts. I'm not even saying like if you have time. No, you should go back. Also watch Cop Rock.
Genuinely watch Cop Rock. It's a pretty good show.
I think it is on YouTube, but you can also just buy the DVD, and maybe if enough people buy the DVDs,
can you imagine,
they'll make a new season.
Can you imagine them sitting there looking at, like, I don't know, quarterly sales figures or something and seeing a spike in Cop Rock DVDs?
Right. I want a meeting where they're
hell?
like, gentlemen, I guess we have to reboot Cop Rock? And I'm like, that can't be right, is it? Let's look at these numbers again.
Yeah.
The algorithm is saying Cop Rock.
Ask the sorting hat again.
Yeah. Honestly, they should make Cop Rock. Get Hamilton to do it.
Oh, sure. Lin-Manuel Miranda, you mean?
Yeah. Anybody. It's this. You could make Cop Rock. You could make it today. And it would also probably only last a season.
Yeah,
just gonna be honest.
I still don't know if the singing is a good idea. Like, it's so. Like, the reason the show is good isn't because of the music.
No, the music gets in the way. Yes.
Yeah, like it gets in the way, and so. But the story is so engaging, and we said this. I know we've said this on a few episodes at least. Like, I'm genuinely, as I'm watching it just for the story, I forget it's a musical until they break out into song. Like, oh, right.
I would also argue they choose the wrong times for the songs.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Because a song in a musical, and I know this isn't a hard and fast rule, and I'm not exactly an expert. In fact, I don't really love musicals that much, so I guess ignore everything I'm about to say. But in my opinion, a song in a musical is supposed to signify an emotional moment.
Right. It's meant to drive home that emotion and or and they're
or an exposition about a character or something like that.
Yeah.
This doesn't always do that. This will do it in weird places where I'm like, really? Song for that, huh?
Or it'll come in the middle of someone's emotional moment, and then they start singing, and it's like, oh, I guess we're in this now. So it doesn't have a build to it, but It's a 42-minute show, probably longer than 42 minutes because it's 1990.
Yeah.
It's hard to fit 4 or 5 songs into a episode of television and have them all make sense or not, and have none of them feel a little clunky. So
Absolutely, yeah. So we have, this starts with a song, Heroes All, which is about them getting medals.
now here's a question, Dave. I can't remember
Oh.
why they're getting medals.
Okay, so first of all, this episode is episode 9. It's
Okay.
called Marital Blitz.
It's
Just putting that out there.
It's been so long since we covered this that I legitimately don't remember what happened that they're getting medals for.
So I know the lady, she shot that or got shot.
Oh, right. That's right. It's when she got shot
And
by
that's
that
why
crazy
yeah.
guy. Okay.
Yeah, she's getting. She's the only one that we need to know about. I think.
I see.
Because
Okay.
it's like everybody else is just like, yeah, they hand out. You immediately know it's going to be a song because it starts with like Ronnie Cox with a spotlight on him, and I was like, here we fucking go.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously the format of this show is we'll talk about the songs separately at the end. But this starts with that song about the cops getting medals and then basically saying like we should all get medals. We're all heroes, just doing our job, etc. Ronald Cox opens his mouth, which is to say he creates a problem.
Ronathan Cox.
Ronathan Cox, who is unhinged.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess we should do a little recap. Like, so the whole series is surrounding this one cop, Vincent LaRusso.
Yeah.
And he shot an unarmed black man in custody right away. That's how this season, the whole season's around this trial.
Yeah.
This is before Rodney King, right? Like this is
before the LA
weirdly-
riots. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just interesting.
I mean, it's you could. I assume the mood / climate, in
Yeah.
Los Angeles was this. This
they weren't psychics,
right. This is not like a huge called shot. They could tell that something was about to
Oh
go
yeah.
off. Yeah.
If anything, people probably were watching this and being like, "This is so obvious."
Yeah.
Like yeah, I'm sure a lot of people knew, but so it's sort of like this ongoing struggle there. There's been this like rift between people. There's his partner is going to testify against him, and he's kind of there's a will he won't he. Because he's getting a lot of racist bullshit thrown his way, and the cops are mad at him because he's going to turn on his fellow cop.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's
even though he's
the coroner,
a shitty murderer.
yeah,
Like-
and then the coroner, the dark fucking arc of him,
The coroner
whose
and his wife Vicky, the main patrolman.
yeah, who's way hotter than him, and she's been partnered with this other young stud, and he's jealous to the point that, if you recall, he was totally going to do an MS. He was
Right.
going to murder
That's
suicide.
right. He came into one of their calls ready to MS them.
Yeah.
My gosh.
He really was.
He really has spiraled. Like in the first episode, I was like, I really like the medical examiner. But like,
Yeah, I think that's
really
the point.
spiraled. Yeah.
Yeah, he starts as a sympathetic character where it's like, oh, I get it. Because there is, and we could talk about it, but like Vicky, she is in a weird situation where she's like kind of being flirty with this guy who is way more flirty, where he's just like, I want you. It's like,
her partner is aggressively trying to sleep with her. Yeah.
right. And I would argue like people do this all the time. People flirt at work because they're bored. That's a thing. I remember doing that, but like he's gone beyond that.
Yeah, he's going down. He's trying
and
to
so-
get her to be in a relationship with him.
Right, and you could argue that her husband should be like, hey, could you switch partners? Like, it's weird that you're not. But then he kind of loses his entire...
His entire fucking mind.
yeah, and like, he also loses our sympathy.
Yeah.
Because then he starts being like, I'm going to murder-suicide us. And then it's like, okay, never mind. I can't be on your side
And there's
anymore.
one
I'm sorry.
point in this episode we check in with him at a marriage counselor. And at he gets up and leaves when she admits that she is attracted to her partner, even though she's never
Right.
acted on it. And she goes this episode and gets a new partner because she's like, I need to
save
save
her
my
marriage.
marriage. Yeah. But he gets
Yeah,
so mad that he storms out and he says, I have to leave before I put my hands on you. And then he walks. I was
Right.
like, fucking what? Where did that come from?
And I mean, honestly, she shouldn't be seeing a counselor at this point. She should be seeing a divorce lawyer.
Yeah, at this point,
he tried to murder-suicide them.
Yeah, he walked in.
That's a listen.
He followed them to a call at a motel room, kicked in the door as they're doing police work. They're like arresting somebody with a fucking gun. I forgot he did that. He
points the gun. Yeah, folks, if your spouse tries to murder-suicide you guys, don't work it out. You don't need to work that out.
The spark has died.
yeah, that's it. That's it for the marriage. But so that's one of the plots. There's a lot of like this, much like a show that, again, this is like ahead of its time in the way. So it's before its time in like, it feels like The Wire, and it feels like morally it's very gray on purpose, where it's like characters, you'll feel bad for them, but you also don't like them or you don't agree with them. And they spend a lot of time with this like moral gray areas. Mm-hmm. Ronnie Cox is one of them, sort of. I would argue his struggle I'm less sympathetic towards, but he basically says that LaRusso should also be honored to the press, and then we get Randy Newman credits.
The opening credits are so weird. It's just all the actors palling around with Randy Newman while he's singing.
This is one of the most unskippable credit sequences, in my opinion.
It's more so than like the Peacemaker opening credits. This thing, you have to watch it unfold from start to finish every time.
Yeah, we can't count it towards best song because it would win every episode. You know?
Yeah.
It is fucking great. But yeah, so Ronnie Cox immediately gets in trouble because he keeps doing this. If you remember, he keeps saying like horrible things to the press.
Right. Like his issue is I don't want to say he's like a more sympathetic LaRusso because he's not nearly as bad as LaRusso, but like he's one of these old guys that doesn't think he's racist, but actually has a lot of prejudice. And one of these dudes, and on top of that, he's like, well, people should leave the cops alone and just let us do our jobs. He's like pining for the days of the Old West, if you guys remember from previous episodes. So he's what
the show is trying to explain to the audience, but because they're trying to explain to the audience, no one explains it to Ronnie Cox. Like the other guy, the guy who he constantly talks to,
Ozzy, Vondi Curtis Hall.
Yeah, he could explain it to him if he wanted to. But like what Ronnie Cox's deal is that he doesn't understand what systemic racism means, right? It's sort of this thing where like I use this example in like a Some More News actually. When someone says like where there's a headline that says climate change is racist, someone like Ronnie Cox would go, oh, now they're accusing the weather of being racist, right?
Yeah.
And you can understand that because the headline is so weird. But what they're of course saying is that the system in which like stuff like neighborhoods and the infrastructure and like redlining and this long systemic racism has put black communities in areas that are more susceptible to climate change and don't fix up their infrastructure. So what they're actually saying is it's a product of a systemic racism. And that's what Ronnie Cox doesn't understand about the cops, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, but I'm not racist, even though he kind of is. Mm-hmm. But like, that's what it is he's like, it's that thing where they imagine racists as like Klansmen.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't understand like passive racism or like
the much more insidious systemic version of, systemic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what he represents. And I think the show knows it, right?
Yeah, the show knows it. Yeah. I think that's true.
And he starts developing kind of a persecution complex as well, which we'll get into. His dream. Is
that this?
His amazing dream. I don't know if it's this one.
Well, it's one of the episodes we're going to talk about on this episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
But like the fact that he wakes up from this weird ass dream where he's getting,
it's the next episode for the record,
where he's getting put on trial and hung by the black community for being racist and holding up a racist system, and then he wakes up and screams, and Ozzy comes running in the room, Vondi Curtis Hall, and he's like, what's going on? And he tells Vondi Curtis Hall about his dream. Like, don't tell him that dream, man. You keep that to yourself.
There's a lot. That dream, I imagine on set, they were like, the director's explaining it all to the extras and dancers, and he goes, so is there any questions? And like every hand raises, and he's like, well, we're going to film this, so... like, there's got to be a lot of people who are like, what the fuck was this?
Everybody's saying, oh, you're playing a guilt trip within the mind of a racist
man.
boomer.
You need to lynch this white guy
Yeah.
for being racist.
Yeah,
It's like, okay.
he's having a strange fucking persecution fantasy.
It's wild. This fucking show is
I
wild.
know.
But yeah, so he gets in trouble. They need to make him do another public apology. So that's what's going on with the mayor. And of course, the mayor is stupping him.
Yeah, they're
So
they're in a relationship. I do like that.
She's not doing her job, basically.
No, and his press conference goes so bad that it ends with him calling. What does he say? The left wing.
Lefty jackals, media jackals.
Left wing media jackals.
But that doesn't happen yet. Yeah. He has a tough time, and the mayor needs to just fire him. Like, that's what actually needs to happen.
Yes.
And she's
every time
stripping him. So
every time he speaks, he says something racist. Whether or not he intends to.
But she can't get enough of that Ronnie Cox. What are you gonna do?
That Ronathan.
Yeah. Vicky gets a new partner, which she's like, it's to save my marriage. But again,
he's a real prick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a terrific prick.
He doesn't think women should be cops, so she immediately has an issue with her new partner because he's a dick.
Yeah, they both do, because the other partner, we'll talk about her. She's a whole other deal. We have courtroom drama stuff, and I was like, I can't believe they didn't do a CCH Pounder song. So we're doing Vincent's court. He's in court for this fucking
for murdering.
Like, this is it. Yeah. This is the court. We've been leading to this, you know.
Yeah, all season.
But yeah, they partner up, and like, she has the guy who thinks women shouldn't be cops. Mm-hmm. And then he has what appears to be the Terminator, this like emotionless,
very like
lady.
A no nonsense lady partner.
Yeah, she's not into music. She says, "I'm not much on music."
Not really into
like,
music.
You don't like music?
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah.
The mayor feels bad for doing her job, and she's going to buy Ronnie Cox a birthday saddle. That's what's going on there.
He sure does buy him a birthday saddle. He's so fucking corny, and he just needs to be fired. He has a shooting range in his office.
Yeah.
He needs to be fired.
Yeah, he really does need to be fired. He's desperate to be fired.
Like,
he's begging for it.
It's so bad that at one point, I think it's the next episode, when he goes to a bus where they bust a bunch of guys who are clearly Crips. With machine guns and all these drugs, and he's like, "Yeah, see, I care about the community, and we're down here helping." Like, he gets pelted with fruit and eggs.
So funny. I love that they had that on the ready.
He says to the other cop, "Get me out of here!
Get me out of here!"
They have to rush him to the car.
Yeah, honestly, that's the better reaction than what I was scared he would do.
Yeah.
He is a cowboy. I thought maybe he's going to be the next trial, Ronnie Cox.
Yeah, he's going to be the next LaRusso, yeah.
Yeah, but the trial's happening. They're trying to punch. So the defense seems to have like nothing. Through the trial, like, the defense's argument is awful, because they keep, like, first they go after the cop who frisks, and their big turning point is, did you check in his underwear? And they keep switching back and forth to maybe he had a gun to he could have picked up the gun.
Right.
The defense is completely inconsistent.
Right, because they're arguing, like, LaRusso's version of events is that the guy tried to grab the Uzi off of the table. He never says he reaches in his pants and pulls out a gun. So you're right. Like, the defense, all they have, and they do a good job of this because the defense attorney is so slimy and frustrating. You just hate him. But all they have is reasonable doubt. So he's just hitting these areas where could be maybe questionable, and really, and especially in his closing argument in the next episode, it's really apparent that all he has is trying to put reasonable doubt into the minds of the jury.
Yeah, they're just trying to confuse people because he keeps doing things where if you think about it for a second, you're like, well, no, it wouldn't be that. Because his big thing is a few cops said that it was justified, and then they changed their statement. And he's like, well, are you lying then, or were you lying now? Who can say? And it's like, well, the way lies work is usually people lie first, and then they say the truth. Like, nobody says the truth and then lies later, really, especially since in this case, it's so clear that the original lie would have been designed to protect all the police, whereas the truth is inconvenient.
Right.
So it's like,
of
course they, like, why would they tell the truth, and why would they then change it to be like, on second thought, he shot the unarmed man?
Right. He's
giving everybody trouble. Like, why would you lie to do that?
He tries to blame it on the captain, saying, "Oh, Captain Hollader has a personal vendetta against LaRusso." But like,
right.
he's being a real babe in the woods about like, well, why would you lie in the first place? It's like, bro, cops lie to cover each other's asses all the time.
And why would the captain want to fake this?
Right.
You know, that's a ridiculous accusation it's
absurd,
his department.
Yeah.
He'll get fired.
Yeah.
So it's very obvious. The whole idea, and I think again it's on purpose, is how fucking obvious it is. But it's like to the point that Vincent that he's like he starts feeling like very mopey, and like you can easily like forget like, no, he fucking did it. Like there's no shadow of a doubt here. Like he murdered a man.
You were saying,
and it's this woe is me attitude that he starts getting.
Yeah, and then he does something real fucking weird.
But we finally. Oh yeah,
I was gonna say, like, you mentioned the gray area stuff earlier, and LaRusso is an interesting character of that, not because he exists in a gray area, because he is through and through an awful man. But it does, you do spend enough time with him that it's like when you do like will in the moment like feel bad for him, or like you
forget.
Shit. Yeah, you forget that you have to remind yourself, oh right, not only did he murder this guy in cold blood, but like also he's terrible to his girlfriend. He he uses her as bait. Like, you remember, he like pimps her out to that guy so he can bust him. Like, he's an awful dude from top to bottom. It's not.
Yeah, he's shitty.
He's not just a murderer. Like, he's all around horrible dude. Like, he's not sympathetic.
Yeah, no, he's awful.
But like in the episode where he's on the radio show and like all the racists call in and he's bewildered, it's like you do feel a little bit bad for him. It's like, bro, this is what you stand for. This is who is supporting you.
Right, and it's a good. It was very smart for this show to be like, we're gonna make this character not think of himself as racist,
right,
and then be celebrated by racists. It's just a nice message of like two people who think, well, I'm not racist. Why would this be happening? Like, right. I appreciate that about it. And then we get our fucking 18 minutes in. We finally get a song.
Yeah.
And it is the Media for the Record song, and it's about the media circus around it. A guy in the audience, an activist, I assume, objects and says the system is fundamentally racist, and then they're arguing about it, which doesn't seem like the lawyers are like, go out and yell at that man, LaRusso, and it's like, why would they let him do that? But they
pointed out, I mean, not that it makes any more sense, but like, he doesn't want to go out there initially. He's like, I don't want to leave the courtroom. All the cameras are out there and they're going to see this guy yelling at me on TV, and they're like, that's exactly what they want. But you're right, they doesn't really explain why they let him go outside.
And also, it doesn't help him. That's the thing.
No, it's terrible for his case.
They're doing like the Trump thing where they're like, we want the public on our side, we want to drum up all this support, and it's like, yeah, but once they're in the courtroom, it's just these very serious people asking questions.
Yeah. And
it's like, that's what actually matters. Well, of course, you know, that maybe that's naive of me to say.
Yeah.
And so this song, it's a good song, but I feel like it's the wrong focus because it's on like the media wanting this circus, and they put this activist in it as well. And I like that both LaRusso and the activist feel uncomfortable. Like, they look uncomfortable at the song, the media, like singing and circling them, like, give us a quote, give us something what we can use.
Yeah.
But like in the moment, it's like, I get what they're saying because it is a media circus and the media doesn't care.
And the media plays a role in these systemic issues as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but the guy talking about the systemic racism almost feels like he gets like nerfed. His point where it's just like, oh, I kind of wish he had a song.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I see what you're saying. I don't think it affected it that much because it does still.
I don't think it affected it that much. Yeah,
they do still like pause, and he does go continue to speak his.
And again, the
points.
Yeah, the point is that they're both kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's a weird equating those two, but it's that idea of like these two people should, in a better world, LaRusso would go to jail, but also that this activist would be able to actually have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't get to, is the idea, because the media is just like, fight, 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 you know?
Yeah.
Then we go back to our cops on the beat. The lady checking out his ass, who says he has really cute buns, because it's the 90s.
Buns.
Women loved the anuses of men.
Buns.
Yeah, buns. And that's a wild thing to say to a cop.
Yeah.
Like, and the cop's into it, but the lady is like,
his rigid new partner like yells at the lady. He's like, "What did you say to him?"
Yep. And then we meet the champions of this episode, which is two guys, one in a Hawaiian shirt, one in a flannel shirt, fighting over a chicken bucket.
Yep.
Just he says, "I'm willing to die over a bucket of chicken," and then attacks a cop.
He shoves his new partner away, and she beats his fucking ass. These are the two reddest faced men in Los Angeles are fighting over this chicken. These guys, I love these guys. I wish this was a song.
Yeah,
they should be singing about their buckets of chicken.
Yeah, and I was just like, I love these men. I love them both. And they're just fighting over someone stealing from their chicken bucket. He attacks the cop over the chicken, and she just like she beats the guy. Mm-hmm. And then we get a song the song is called "I Want to Go Bumpty Bumpty."
Yep.
And this is, I think, Baby Merchant level of insanity.
This is the most bananas song, I think. Like, you're right. Next to the Baby Merchant, it's this song. This
song is so bananas that they cut it off. They like stop the song.
Right.
They just cut away. Because she basically throws herself at the other cop and like assaults him.
She's an adrenaline junkie, so it's like she gets all horned up after fighting.
She's like, let's fuck in the cop car,
let's do
and
bumpty,
he's trying to get away.
Bumpty.
And something I think they're trying to point out, but they don't do a good job at, is the idea is this woman is not traditional looking. She's a lot more like masculine, muscular, and he's not into it. Whereas he liked Vicky, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's a double standard they could point out here, but I don't think they do a good job at, because she essentially assaults him.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one would want this. Like,
I think, and this is a dated point. I mean, a dated point. It's a dated thing to do. Because I think the point they're trying to make is, that now the tables have turned. He's getting his comeuppance because he was being a sex pest with Vicky.
But he also didn't assault Vicky.
No, he never did.
And so like, that's it's hard because they're circling around a good idea, because later he goes to the captain. He's like, I'm uncomfortable, and the captain thinks it's funny. So they are pointing out this double standard is where when a guy is victimized, they're laughed at, but it's all kind of muddled. Like, she should have hit on him. She shouldn't have assaulted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if she was just like said, you do have really cute buns, like did that, or like,
and it was like,
did like something where it's like, if she was Vicky, he would have been into it,
Right, like trying to pressure him to get a motel like he was always doing to Vicky.
Yeah, they should have done that, but instead they do this unhinged song of her talking about going bumpty bumpty.
It is not far from the fake Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes. I was thinking
like,
Pepe Le Pew.
Man. Yeah.
And she like slams him against the cop car, and she's just like, trying to fuck him on the cop car, and he's squirming away.
Can't stress this enough. All while singing a song where she refers to sex as bumpty bumpty.
Yeah, it is again unhinged.
It is unhinged.
And it's very funny because they cut off the song. The song doesn't end; it just hard cuts to him like, "Captain, I need a new partner." Was she singing
the song to him all the way back to the station, you figure?
I like to think so, yeah.
Bumpty bumped. I don't remember if that's how it goes, but it's a hell of a song.
Boy. Yeah. And so that's what they're trying to do. And then they cut to the other guy being like, I don't want to partner with Vicky because I hate women. And the captain, I thought like, are they going to partner like the two women up and the two guys up? What are they going to do? And I actually like what the captain does. He's just like, well, too bad.
Yeah.
And he says like, I can only hope that someday you'll be as half a good of cop as she is. And so he's just like, yeah, you're wrong, and you should stay her partner because maybe you can fucking learn something from her.
It basically tells the guy to eat shit, jog on.
Yeah. That's after this we get the Ronnie Cox left-wing media jackal scene. So it just keeps getting worse. Vincent starts getting ready to escape the country. He's talking to his lawyer.
The fact that LaRusso is the type of man who has fake passports and a go bag ready to flee the country tells you exactly what kind of person he is.
Exactly. Like he knows it was only a matter of time. You know,
he's Vic Mackey from The Shield. He really is.
Yeah, he really is. They bring the coroner up on the stand. He kind of nails it. He's doing a very good job.
I still really like the actor, even though the character has lost my sympathy. I think.
Oh yeah, the actor's great.
Yeah.
I also like that he is like, other than this deal with his wife, he's like has a level head otherwise. But you know, he's
other than trying to do a murder suicide, he's got a level head.
Yeah. We get the mayor being like, he's like, so I'm going to get in trouble again because I called them left-wing media jackals. And she's like, I love you. Here's a saddle.
Yeah.
And he says, wow, a good woman and a good saddle. What more can a man ask for? And again, it's like, okay, you both need to get fired.
Yeah, you both don't need to be in public office.
Yeah. And then we get the song Quit Your Bitchin', which is the captain.
This is... Man, I know we're going to talk about the songs in detail in the next section, but I do love that it's like a jazzy song.
It's like blues.
Yeah, that's right. Like a bluesy song. So, but the captain is like getting into it in the performance-wise. Like he's going like, yeah! Like but he has to perform it like he's mad at them because he's just, he's sick of getting requests from everybody. And everybody around him has to look like they're getting yelled at when he's doing like jazzy, like, yeah!
It's so funny, yeah. And like, I don't know, it's your job, bro, you know? But yeah, it's very funny. Also, the voice whenever he sings is like deeper than you imagine.
It is not the voice you'd expect him to have as a singing voice.
Yeah, it's very funny.
He doesn't sing that. I don't think he's sang a song since the first episode, maybe. So I sort of had forgotten that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So when it came out, it was a surprise all over again.
Yeah. The lines are like, too many bleeding hearts in here. He says, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, which I believe conveniently rhymes with bitchin'. It's like, like I like the idea, but it's also like, come on, they just need shift changes and stuff. People work here. That's your job.
Right. It is a job, and you are the boss, the manager.
Yeah, yeah. You handle schedules.
Yeah.
What am I gonna?
What do you want?
But I think that's the point. Is he's just fed up in the moment. We get to the partner on the stand. Will he? Won't he? And he does testify against LaRusso.
Pretty scathingly. I really like this. Like he really lays it all out. Like it's
great.
You know where sometimes, very often in dramas like this, like the characters won't say everything you think they should say or you really want them to say. You know, in order to keep the drama moving.
Yeah.
But he says everything that's been on his mind, and it's really great.
I also like that the judge like has no time for the defense's like PragerU shit.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, stop with the speeches. And yeah, he basically like they're trying to be like, why did you change your mind? Why aren't you lying now? And he basically is yelling at him like, do you know how much fucking shit I've gone through here?
The defense attorney tries to argue that like he's getting a promotion out of this, and he's like, bro, I'm losing my entire career over this.
Yeah.
Like, other cops will not speak to me. My family's in protective custody. Like, this is not... Like, it's so clear that it's... It's like, I'm going through a lot of shit. Destroying my personal and professional lives to get a promotion.
It's obvious to anyone.
Yeah.
And then he ends with, my family is proud of me. They may be scared to death, but they are proud of me. And then we cut to credits, and I was like, fucking awesome.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
That's that episode. And now we get into...
It even gets to LaRusso a little bit. Like when he says that, when he's like shouting, my family is proud of me, like it cuts to LaRusso and he actually looks ashamed.
Yeah, I'm still unsure what LaRusso's going to do. Even after this next episode.
I think he's going to flee the country.
Yeah, it's just, like they're doing a lot where it's like his conscience is like getting pounded.
Yeah.
But this next episode is episode 10. No Noose is good news.
Oh, God.
And it starts with LaRusso's birthday party, his shitty birthday party. And it's a nice reminder of like the people who have his back, he doesn't seem to like. And because they're like depressing.
He doesn't have any. Yeah, the only people. He's such a rotten dude. Like the only people who will hang out with him are other rotten dudes.
Yes, it's actually, it reminds me of real life because there's this thing where like the people who are like, and I'm not talking about Republicans or conservatives. I'm talking about like the people who are like hard right racist homophobes who like the PragerU shit where like they have to boycott the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they're like, Disney's woke, Budweiser's woke, and it's like everything's woke to them. And they have this desperate need to create like their own little group where they're like, we're having fun over here. But all they have is like Kevin Sorbo and Gina Carano and like a couple fucking Daily Wire movies. And they're like, see, we have our own fun. And it's like, you are not having fun over there.
No.
And that's what that reminds me of is like this group of like racist cops getting together with like a stripper. And they're like, yeah, we're this is fun. And it's like, you all seem very miserable, I gotta say.
Like he's not even watching the stripper. Like,
yeah,
it's like one of the guy that gets up to toast him. First of all, has a Prince's mustache, just
he does.
Killer 90s. There are so many dudes in cop rock that have faces that they no longer allow on television.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, there was a bunch of like theater kids with mustaches that heard about this casting. It was like, finally,
yes,
like a bunch of like 50-year-old dudes with like musical backgrounds who are like, what am I gonna do with this face and mustache? Their prayers were answered.
Oh, man. So this hero with this mustache, this other shitty cop, gets up to toast LaRusso on his birthday, and it really is the saddest party. It looks like it's in someone's living room.
Yeah.
There's like 6 guys around like a regular dining room table and an extremely sad letter banner saying happy birthday hanging on the wall behind him.
Yeah.
Like it's really grim. And this dude stands up to toast LaRusso with a beer in a Collins glass. Like
it's a bummer.
Really? Did you pour your high life into a Collins glass so it would feel more refined?
This is one of those bummer scenarios where I knew the show wanted it to feel like a bummer, but I can't tell how much of it is the show and how much of it is just the 90s being a bummer. You know what I mean?
I think you were... I still think that you would intuit this scene in 1990 as being
is a bummer,
as being dark. Like it's dark.
Oh, for sure. No, that's the whole point because he gets a song. He sings over the stripper, which first of all, rude. Second of all, weird because she's like dancing to a different song.
I was thinking about that the entire time and how
she's like off tempo.
How difficult that must have been to film. Like, like legitimately all I could think about is because, music plays and she starts dancing and then that music fades out and it just focuses on LaRusso as he sings his own song. But the party continues in the background as he's singing. So
right. It's an internal song.
Yeah. It's like, how did they film this? It's like all I could think about was like,
it must have been like really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the song is like slower. It's about how he just wants to be a cop. That's basically the song. It's called To Live and Die Like a Cop. And it's him just like lamenting that he just wanted to be a cop. Which again, we don't really feel bad for him because he shot an unarmed man in custody. But it's to show that LaRusso, like, he just doesn't like this. He doesn't like that his life has become politicized. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like that his circle is just a bunch of racists.
It's the closest we've seen not the closest because when he's on the radio show, I think that's another moment. But it's like, I think it's the closest we get to seeing him really be like, man, maybe I made some wrong choices because he really is miserable with where his life is.
Right, because again, the idea is like, and again, he's not racist. He's also a racist.
Yeah, he just doesn't think he is.
And so I don't feel bad for him.
No.
But it's that idea of like, if you live a life of this sort of hate, like you're going to cause a lot of misery, and which is why I don't feel bad for these people.
No.
But they're pointing out that your life is going to be miserable.
That he is also miserable. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to live in misery.
What are you doing this for?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it's a cycle of hate. It's like these people are hateful because they live lives they hate, Mm-hmm. and for some reason he just wanted to be a cop, which I would argue this also says some shit about him. But like, the idea is like, he didn't want this. So that's the first song. And then I think we get credits. We get Randy Newman.
Yep. Hard. That's always such a jarring transition.
Yeah. No matter what.
And now in the studio with Randy Newman.
Yep. Caprock. It's great. Never gets old. Yeah.
They're all just standing around tapping their toes.
Yeah.
To Randy Newman.
It's so great. We get the cop that was harassed by the lady partner. He gets a new partner, which is
Andy
like an attractive lady.
Andy is his name.
Andy.
Yeah, he gets.
He gets like
a petite lady partner, and he's like,
this traditionally attractive.
This is more like it. This is more like it is. Yeah, he really sucks.
Yeah,
the lawyer. You can see right through Andy.
Yeah, I like how much he sucks now.
Yeah.
They have the lawyer on the stand having this expert on like this cuffed man demonstrating that a cuffed man could grab a gun. He uses like the bailiff's gun, and I was like, don't do that.
They would never, ever, ever do that.
He's like, could you, I just asked, could you unload it, please? And it's like, I would check his work. Yeah. Yeah, also no. Yeah.
No.
The bailiff should be like, I'm not doing any of this.
I'm not going to disarm myself in the middle of this court proceeding.
Right. Like, I feel like after this demonstration, the judge would be like, okay, thank you. Bailiff, you are fired. Get out of here now.
And the defense attorney is probably disbarred.
Yeah, everybody.
It's such
case dismissed.
It's a real O.J. Simpson trial moment, which is interesting because this is 5 years before that. But it's such
because
it's such like
it's
this goofy theatrical stunt that's incredibly misleading.
Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect because he's showing that a handcuffed person could grab a gun to prove that that's possible. But it's like, first of all, like this is an expert who's probably trained to do this over and over again, right?
And you guys have rehearsed this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's all besides the fucking point because someone has already testified, like, but again, that's the point.
Yeah, you have a witness that say that didn't happen. And the medical examiner is like, the way he was shot 3 times in the dead center of his chest, he was not turning around to grab a gun with his hands behind his back.
After that, we get the Ronnie Cox apology scene again, where he's like considering another apology with his second, and he starts. It's the scene where the guy comes to him and says, like, we should do more about these black communities, right?
He points out that they really are. It's like we don't have foot patrols out there. We're not really. It takes a long time for us to answer calls when it's out there.
And Ronnie Cox is like, I have an idea, a hollow photo op. And he's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And he basically says, this will quote, get these black malcontents off my back.
Yeah.
To which the other cop is like, okay.
Yeah, like Vondi Curtis.
We need to have a talk.
He's finally like, all right, dude, when you say shit like that, how do you think that makes me feel?
You understand I'm black. And he's like, no, you don't understand. You're one of the good ones.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
Yep. It's
we have to keep talking.
You're one of those guys.
Yeah. So basically they get mad at each other.
Yeah.
And they have an interesting relationship where this guy is like trying. He's trying. Mm. Like he could just be like, yes, sir, whatever, sir. He could be just trying to get through the day, but he keeps like trying to actually, because he knows he can actually get to Ronnie Cox. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie Cox, I think, is not a lost cause. You know what I mean?
No, he's just
where
old.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Like he could explain to Ronnie Cox the problem.
Yeah, I think but his character is just a guy who's unwilling to confront his prejudice at this moment.
Exactly.
But
there's also this question of like, this man doesn't have an obligation to explain it to Ronnie Cox. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like he's also just mad at him because he should be.
So
they get there in a fight.
Racist thing to say.
Yeah, he's just like, come on, man. We get to couples therapy where he it's funny again. She's trying. Vicky's trying.
Right.
And
he's just being an ass, man.
Right. The therapist, who is a maniac, just goes, do you think the problem is your age difference? And it's like, why would you even bring that up? That's not even an issue. Like, she should say, do you think the problem is how he tried to murder suicide
Right,
you?
how he kicked in the door and tried to MS you and your partner.
Yeah. Yeah, but the therapist is like adding new problems.
Like, I
she's
think-
like, do you think it's this? Do you think it's
Yeah,
that
and
he's hideous
And
and
as,
you're not?
as their marriage continues to implode before our very eyes, it keeps cutting back to the therapist with this weird smile on her face. Like,
Yeah.
I think she just likes mess.
Yeah, she's like, this is my fetish.
Right, she's just lobbing grenades into the middle of this couple.
She really is. It's ridiculous. And then he's the one who leaves, and he's like, I don't think this is going to work out. And it's like, okay, I'm glad someone said it. Or maybe, no, he doesn't say it here. He says it later.
Yeah, it's toward
But
the end
it's
of the
still-
episode, but yeah.
Yeah, this is the one where he leaves and says, if I don't run, I'm going to put my hands on you. And then the therapist is just blankly smiling. And she's like, I'm going to masturbate thinking about this
It's like
later.
you're gonna comment on that, doctor?
Yeah, are you going to call someone?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Then this is when we get Ronnie Cox going to the neighborhood to get vegetables comically thrown on
Yeah,
him.
he gets pelted with vegetables and eggs.
Yeah, amazing. And then finally we get that this is a sudden unrelated subplot, which is we caught all these sex workers, and now we're going to catch the Johns. And by doing that, we're going to objectify the fuck out of these lady cops.
Yeah, I do love. It's another song and dance number, and I love that one of the backup dancer lady cops is smoking a cigarette while she's doing the routine.
Yes. This song is called Choose Me, Baby, and it's
Yeah.
about fake sex workers. And this is one of those songs where I'm like, I'm not sure why they thought this was what they needed. Because
I honestly think they just saw an easy opportunity to do a song in this scene.
Yes. They have two. They have this and they have the later song.
Holy shit, Dave!
Yes, they have. So these are
second
companion
song?
pieces. Tenderness,
With
it's called.
with Lyle, the hero
Lyle.
of this episode.
Lyle, the hero, who just wants to be humiliated.
Yeah.
Lyle is like, he says to the lady cop, you arresting me was the most erotic thing ever. Basically, they arrested these guys looking for sex.
Yeah.
And Lyle gets a song. Lyle and the Perverts is the band name, I believe. And they're all singing about, like, we just like getting fucked.
Yeah, we just like sex. But first he clumsily and just totally humiliatingly and embarrassingly, to the point where this must be a fetish of his. He did just say that getting arrested was the most erotic experience ever.
Yeah.
Tries to ask her out to dinner, and
The cop that arrested him.
Yeah, and it's like it's so cringy. It's but like, and then he goes
Yeah.
from that into this singing about how much he loves to fuck. And it's so
Yeah.
great. He's got this crazy awesome voice. He's like fucking Meatloaf.
Yes. Yes. He should have been Meatloaf.
Singing about how much he wants to fuck. Oh my god, dude! If it had
This
been
should have been
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. But yeah, fucking Lyle. And his name's Lyle.
His
He's
name
perfect.
is Lyle. Yeah, he's great.
He's a perfect man.
Great.
I want to talk about these two songs in that the second song actually points this out, is that, like, sex work, I personally don't believe should really be a crime, right?
I don't think so. You know, between two
Yeah.
adults.
Yeah, and I don't know. People listening might have different opinions on this, but if sex work is regulated, then it would be safer for everyone.
Right.
And sex can be a form of therapy. There's specific people who seek out sex work that, you know, might feel like they need it. And
It's
like
a very-
people like Lyle.
It's a very prudish, puritanical rule.
Yeah, and if you put a light on this, it would just be safer and better for everyone. That's my opinion. And I think what's interesting is that it feels like this second song is on that side.
Yeah.
But
Although
it feels like the second song combined with the first song, it's the spotlight's on the wrong people. And what I mean by that is, like, there's no sympathy for the sex workers.
right,
In this,
we're not checking in with the sex workers at all.
Yep. It almost seems like what they're talking about is that these poor men were baited. Because the first song is like, yeah, you want this, baby, from the cops. And then this song is, why am I a criminal?
I just
from the
wanted
guys.
sex.
Yeah. And it's like, these guys, I honestly, they just wanted sex. And they're for the most part, they might not be bad people. They're just paying for consensual sex. But, like, the sex workers themselves don't get a voice in this.
Yes, correct.
Which I just think is weird.
It was the wrong move, for sure.
Right. I don't think the lady cops dressing as fucking sex workers for this honeypot deal. I don't think they needed a song. I think the song was some producer who wanted to objectify these ladies. They wanted like a sexy song, and so they got one. I do like after that song, the cop says, "I could cite you for having an exposed muffler," which I was like, that's a fun. I mean, are mufflers supposed to be exposed? I have an exposed muffler. Am I going to get in trouble for that? But like,
I don't know.
It's a funny line.
Maybe you should do a sexy dance.
Yeah, it's a fun line. But like, yeah, this feels like it's the 90s. So like they're circling the right idea, but they don't quite land it,
Right. And we've pointed it out a lot, but this show hits way more often than it misses to a shocking degree.
And this isn't even a full miss. This is just like, you didn't quite get the issue.
One of the songs should have been with the sex workers.
Yeah.
Rather than the
because
cops.
They're like, we arrested the sex workers. Now it's time to arrest the Johns. It's like, I don't know, show the sex workers getting arrested and singing about that. But they didn't do that. It's weird.
They sure didn't.
We get Vincent on the stand, which is a big scene. He does a great job at lying.
Yeah, he's very convincing.
Yep. We also get the couples therapy, where this is where he's like, I don't think this is going to work.
Right.
And it's like, you should have been saying that, Vicky, fucking weeks ago. But yeah.
Yeah. The second the gun came out at a Howard Johnson.
Yeah, she should say, this isn't going to work.
This isn't going to work out.
We get them. We get the final closing statements, and we get the jury, one of which is played by Tuvok from Voyager.
You're right.
Yeah, which I was like, is that fucking Tuvok?
It sure
and
as
then
hell
he gets
is
some
Tuvok.
lines. Yeah, he gets some lines. I was like, good for Tuvok. They do a thing. Again, it's the how sure are you, right? It reminds me of the closing argument in The Exorcism of Emily Rose, but that's like supposed to be a heroic one,
right?
Where she's like saying, "Is it a fact that this and that?" And it's like, put this fucking priest in jail, man.
Yeah,
but
this is deranged.
Yeah,
this
holy
happened.
shit. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, his closing argument's really weak, but the jury scene when the lady who wants to acquit him makes a couple of points that maybe you're not usually thinking of. Like she points out, look, if we convict LaRusso, the cops are going to punish us for it.
Right. She also does the thing that where it's like, listen, maybe this case the cop's guilty, but I believe in the cause. That idea of like, they're cleaning up the streets.
Right. And
they're just trying to do their job. So what if one cop executes a man? It's that feeling.
Yeah. She's like, I want my kids to be safe in our neighborhood. And a guy like the guy that LaRusso shot is exactly the type of person that's, wreaking havoc. And like, we want this out of my neighborhood. I don't want the cops to come into the neighborhood and fuck shit up because we convicted one of their own. Like,
right. She's saying the quiet part loud.
Yeah.
Which I think is a lot of this, which is like a lot of the debates today, right? Is the idea of like, they know this cop's guilty, but they believe that it's like to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. It's that idea.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, it's a fucked up song. Mm-hmm. I believe sung beautifully, and we'll talk about that.
Oh yeah, it's a cool song.
Yeah. Well, I don't even like the music that much. I think she's fucking amazing.
Yeah, she's an amazing singer, and I like there's a couple of different vocal lines in it too that are clever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also get LaRusso in his office, or not his office, some room in the courthouse where they're waiting. I guess it's his attorney's office. This is like the most unhinged.
This is wild. Yeah. He says, I want to get you pregnant to the one that's been using him as sex meat.
Yeah.
He says that to her. He wants to hose down her ovaries real quick before he goes to jail.
Because he says,
and he means like right there. Right?
Yes, he
like
does. It is implied that they have sex in the office.
Yeah, he's like, listen, if I go to jail, I want to jizz you up real quick.
Right. He says
so that I have a kid.
Because I need something to live for.
Right. If he's in jail, he wants. Also, listen, I don't know if this is a plan, but if he goes to jail, he conveniently gets to not have to like raise the kid.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For like, yeah. So he wants
probably the rest of his life.
Yeah, he wants this abstract idea of a kid, so that while he's in jail, he'll eventually get out. I'm sure. I mean, come on. He's a white guy cop. Like he'll go to jail for a few years.
Oh, he won't even go to jail.
Well, yeah,
Which is what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, but he spoilers. It's a weird weird
it's
thing.
It's unhinged. It's so weird, and it's another.
I want to impregnate.
It's
you.
another move that tells you exactly the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a weird, selfish, crazy thing to do, and she's like, "Okay,
right." Yeah, she's into it.
She's really into him for some reason.
For some reason, yeah, man, was the 90s just filled with these dudes?
I guess.
Where it's like these poor women. We also get Ronnie Cox's song, which is being lynched by a group of black people for being racist.
Yeah. Man.
And then he wakes up. It reminds me of The Shining when he's like, "I dreamt that I killed you and Danny," and it's like, don't say that.
Don't tell him that.
This is where he's like.
You guys know, right? You guys recognize when a dream is something that you shouldn't share with other people.
Yeah, and this is one where he has a nightmare that he's being lynched, and it's a song. And then he wakes up in front of his wall of guns at his desk, and he's like, "What's wrong, Chief?" And he's like, "I dreamt that you lynched me for being racist," and a bunch of other black people joined in. And then he's just like,
he just kind of stops. Like you see him endure it. Like it's
right. He sits down and he's like, "Listen," and he should say, "Listen, I need to quit."
Yeah, I need
I need to
be transferred to another department.
But he basically says, like, people are racist because they fear what they don't know. And you don't know us, Chief. And it's as good as it can get because he's trying to convince the chief, listen, you are racist. I need to explain to you that you're racist.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know need black to acknowledge it. Yeah.
And honestly, the next season, it would have been fun to watch the chief try to get to know black people. That would have been a lot of fun. I want another season.
Yeah. I want to see him get pelted with more vegetables and eggs.
Yeah. So the jury stuff. And then LaRusso, he stands, then they announce a verdict of not guilty, and the episode ends.
What a fucking ending.
Yeah, I'm so glad they didn't cliffhang the ending.
Yeah.
I'm glad they said,
this is better. It's still just as much of a cliffhanger, I would argue.
It's HBO. It's that feeling of knowing that, that's not the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is now what?
Now what? Yeah, exactly.
And I can't wait to watch episode 11.
That's the last one, man. Fuck.
I'm so scared that they're not going to close out the LaRusso arc. You know what I mean? I'm so scared.
Well, they got canceled, so it's more likely than not that they get a chance to close it out.
I'm glad they didn't make this the season. Again, a lot of other shows would have made this the season cliffhanger.
That's true.
And I'm glad they didn't because they knew this wasn't the point. So what an infuriating verdict, of course, not guilty. He's so obviously guilty. But it's perfect. I'm glad they didn't make him guilty because that would have been optimistic. Too optimistic
that'd
for
have
this
been
show.
some Aaron Sorkin shit.
Yeah.
Like the
and
show
everybody would have clapped.
Really trying to shine a light on the things that it's presenting itself to be shining a light on, then he kind of has to be acquitted because that's what always fucking happens. That's what happened a year later with the LA riots.
Yeah. So hell of an episode.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the best song or do we,
yeah, right.
I guess we can. Yeah.
Isn't this where we do that?
Yeah. I was thinking I have so much to say about this show, but our next episode will be the last episode.
Yeah.
And I think we could save a lot of it for that.
Yeah.
So we got Heroes All. That's We All Got Medals.
Yeah.
For the Record, that's the media one. I Want to Go Bumpty with You. Quit Your Bitchin'.
Yeah.
Then we have we have To Live In.
It was a real Bruce Willis blues song.
Yes, it really is.
There's extreme Brillis energy to that song.
Brillis should have been in this show.
He really should have.
He would have loved it.
Kept spinning in there, playing his harmonica.
He should have been in it.
He'd have been great in this show.
We also get To Live and Die Like a Cop. That's the stripper song. Choose Me Baby, Fake Sex Worker. Tenderness, the I Paid for Sex song.
The fucking Lyle song.
Your Number's Up. That is the We're Gonna Lynch You in Your Dream song.
Lynching Ronnie Cox, yeah.
Yep. And People, that is the jury song. This is hard because in terms of pure unhingedness, I want to go Bumpty Bumpty is like, well.
That is,
I mean,
so bananas, followed by Lyle's song.
Yeah.
Just, man, what a hero.
Yeah, Heroes All I thought was very boring.
Yeah, and plus it was, it's that like Thin Blue Line crap, and it's like
Yes.
I don't.
For the record, the record was a bit of a bop.
I thought it was kind of a cool song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the way they, like you said, they make it so that they're swarming LaRusso and the other guy, and they both look uncomfortable, and then it stops for them to like trade barbs with each other, and then the music will continue. It's kind of a cool song, yeah.
Bumpty Bumpty is a terrible song.
Awful song, totally unhinged.
But yeah, it's hard not to be like honorable mention.
It's so out of its mind.
Yeah, a song that's so out of its mind that, again, the show cuts away from it.
Yeah.
They just they don't let them finish.
Right.
Quit Your Bitchin', as we talked about, is like kind of a pretty good blues, weird song.
It's fine. It's always nice to see the captain sing. He doesn't get to do it that much.
Yeah. Live and Die Like a Cop, I would say, is like kind of awkward. We talked about the tempo, the weird staging. It was a distracting situation. Choose Me Baby, I don't remember much good.
Like I said, it was an okay song. The best thing about it was the backup dancer who's just smoking a cigarette the whole time.
Tenderness, pretty funny.
Lyle can sing.
Yeah. Your Number's Up is fine.
That's
a fun song.
Yeah.
Weird context.
It's weird. That's a weird, uncomfortable sequence.
Yeah. It's one of those sequences like that Lawyer song where you're like, this feels, I don't know. I'm distracted by the sequence itself.
I mean, it's supposed to be uncomfortable, but it succeeded in being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't even remember the song that well because of that. People, which, like I said, I didn't care for the tune, but she is belting it out. It's one of my favorite songs just because she is the woman performing it. The
performance is very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have one that you're leaning towards here? Out of all these, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 9 songs.
Man, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
This is a legitimately tough one.
Yeah. The ones that are sticking out for me, again, without the novelty of it, like quality. Talking about quality. For the Record, Quit Your Bitchin', Tenderness, and People are the ones. And I think just because of her voice, People might be the one that I like the most.
I think that might be where I would go. I might give it to On the Record. Is that what it's called? The media
For the Record.
For the Record, yeah.
I think that's the best ensemble one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those two are the standouts.
And we don't have to. Yeah,
we don't have to name the prince of all songs, but
not until next episode.
But there's some good ones in this episode.
Right. What do you, in considering the best song? And we'll talk about this next episode more. Do we have to consider the novelty? Like Baby Merchant isn't a great song, but
it's just completely unhinged.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we need like a second. We need like a best, most unhinged song.
We can do
category.
I think we can do best song and like best song.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We could do it like at the Grammys. We could have like what is the best episode overall with songs if we wanted to. There's places to go with this, but for now, we have done it. We have done the episode.
It is done. We have rocked the cops.
Yeah, we have rocked the cops.
Mm-hmm.
And big thank you to Matt Smith.
Thank you.
Seriously, this has been a blast.
Yeah, the most unexpected result of this is how much I'm enjoying watching Cop Rock.
Yes, I did not think.
I thought this was going to be a
years
slog.
I would enjoy this. Yeah,
and it's.
I didn't even know. I didn't think it was a slog, but I just didn't think I would like it.
Yeah.
Like I thought we'd be laughing at it way more, but like we're just in it. Like I am seriously sad that there isn't a second season.
I know. I'm gonna watch this again on my own, I think.
Yes, I'm gonna recommend it to people. This is like, it's not exactly the same, but it's nearing like Deadwood getting canceled, where I'm like, oh man,
yeah.
Like I am into this. Fuck, man. So yeah, thank you, Matt Smith.
Cop rock.
I don't think anybody expected that.
No.
And thank you to Cop Rock. Thank you to everybody listening. If you're interested, this was through our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts that you can access on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We have a tier where you can watch movies with us every Friday night. We have a tier where you can do custom We Just Watched or custom podcasts like this one. So check that out.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our TeePublic store. Is that right? Or is it Teespring? It's Teespring.
Teespring.
It's Teespring. I'm sorry, guys. We were on TeePublic. So you gamefullyunemployed.com, you find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your blues singing peepers onto that.
Indeed. Do it.
Man, Bruce Willis with a harmonica should have been in this show.
There's no reason Bruce Willis couldn't have been in this show. All they'd have to do is tell him what the show was.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll become a producer of it, too.
I'll be in every episode.
Yeah. I'll play myself.
What if John McClane sang the blues?
Ooh, fuck. Cop Rock with John McClane?
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's L.A.,
Yeah.
like he's like a New York cop who's out of his element. They shoot it at the Die Hard building that shows up in this. Man, Die Hard, the musical. I know Bob's Burgers did that, but
They sure did.
Come on. Yeah. We need this. We need this more than we need a lot of things.
I think so. I agree.
I'll trade some of my rights for this,
Yeah.
Some of my human rights.
This will heal the planet, I think.
Yeah, it will. Do it today.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.